We hold all the evidence, but they hold all the cards.
Fighting, we felt like we were winning. We were keeping it at bay, keeping it off of the properties. The water shut off. Even the firemen that were patrolling couldn't refill their trucks. The fire just grew. The sparks started blowing over and it just beat us in the end.
You talk about plantation disaster capitalism. Explain.
Plantation disaster capitalism, I think, is unfortunately the perfect term for what's going on in Maui Komohana or in West Maui right now. The plantations, the large landed interests that have had control over not just the land, but really much of Hawaii's and Maui Komohana's resources for the last several centuries, are using this time of tremendous trauma for the people of Maui to swoop in and to get past the law. Basically, they're using the emergency proclamation that the governor put into place the day after the fires ravaged Lahaina, and they're using this as an opportunity to try to get their way, especially with respect to water resources, something they could not achieve when the law and Hawaii's water code in particular were in place.
As Lahaina families struggle with the loss of lives and homes, the tragedy hasn't stopped some from trying to capitalize on the misfortune. Victims have been detailing their struggles on social media, and some now report receiving calls from real estate developers looking to buy out their properties. For community partners already working on Hawaii's housing crisis, attempts to take advantage of victims is not surprising.
Place families are in an incredibly vulnerable position. They may not have money to cover all of their essentials, and so these predatory investors will come in and offer them money to take their land from them. And that is, in that situation of desperation, a very tempting offer.
So for my part, I will try to allow no one from outside our state to buy any land until we get through this crisis and decide what Lahaina should be in the future.
Even with the governor's assurance to do what he can to keep local land for local people, it's going to take a team effort.
That is, in that situation of desperation, a very tempting offer. What there has to be to prevent that from happening is assistance from nonprofits, from the government, to ensure that all of the needs of these families are met so they don't succumb to that pressure, right, that's going to come from the outside. Sell your land, take this $100,000, right, and everything will be okay. And that requires a swift response by our nonprofits and our government to prevent that.
So part of the situation in Maui Komohana is that because of this long history of struggle, Native Hawaiians and really people across the community came forward, participated in public hearings before our state water commission, and loudly called for more proactive water management. And in June 2022, they were successful in achieving this water management area designation for Lahaina. That means additional permit protections were put into place, and many folks, Native Hawaiians who have superior rights, but whose rights have been ignored, were able to come forward and begin a permitting process. Unfortunately, those existing water use permit applications were due on Monday, August 7th, and the fire ravaged Lahaina on Tuesday, August 8th. And then on Wednesday, August 9th, the governor's office issued these emergency proclamations which suspended the water code. So despite this huge effort to try and put this additional protection in place, which of course was predictably opposed by industry interests and development interests, but they were unsuccessful. The Water Commission unanimously voted for water management area designation. And yet, then what they were unable to accomplish legally, they were able to accomplish with the support of the governor and the emergency proclamation. And so it's unfortunate that what we see, and that's why what's happening right now it epitomizes plantation disaster capitalism, because here we have a handful of incredibly privileged, large landed interests using this terrible tragedy to displace and to push through laws that they were unable to secure when Hawaii State Water Code was in place.
That's the hard part. They won't let us get on the media, on TV.
This is Tuvalu. You're probably gonna need to zoom in because Tuvalu is the 4th smallest country in the world by area and 2nd smallest by population. Only 10,000 people live there, which is less than Kirksville, Missouri, a town whose main attraction is the Museum of Osteopathic Medicine. Tuvalu lies about halfway between Sydney, Australia and Honolulu, Hawaii, so it is isolated. The main island stretches a mere 2,000 feet across at its widest, and space is so limited that, when not used for flights, the airport's runway is used as a public park and gathering place.
And show stuff like this and talk about it. I could never get on the TV.
Originally, a company called .tv bought the licensing rights for the .tv domain, but in 2002, this company was acquired by VeriSign, which, aside from being a nightmare of a name for dyslexics, is the registrar for a bunch of different top-level domains, including .com, .net, and now .tv. It's believed that the country of Tuvalu now receives $2 to $3 million per year from the registration of different .tv domains. Up until 2000, Tuvalu was not part of the United Nations, but they joined after this deal went through because they could finally afford the $100,000 joining fee. The revenues from this domain now amount to almost 10% of the country's GDP and have been used to pay for crucial development in this tiny island country.
Everywhere
So what's happening is the
one.
insurance is refusing to pay because it's a natural fire. But one of my goals with this video is to tell people, to tell Lahaina, get a prosecutor, find an investigator. If we can prove that this is not natural, then maybe the insurance companies will turn it over and they'll have to pay, and we can change this. And also the fact that this is an occupied territory and not a state, and that's a whole nother story with that. But I'm just curious. I know that a lot of people don't even believe in direct energy weapons because they don't understand how long this has been going on for, and that we are truly at a war, and they're murdering our children, our keiki, our ohana, and it's like, when do we fight back? I know it's a lot, and especially for Lahaina people, they've lost everything. But I'm just curious if there's any investigator out there, or any attorney that would even touch this with a 10-foot pole.
I got a feeling it's very few, if any, because they will be approached by the dark ones and told to stand down and go away, paid off, or something worse.
What keeps us oriented and alert and out of shock is our history. So a period of crisis like the one we're in is a very good time to think about history, to think about continuities, to think about roots. It's a good time to place ourselves in the longer human story of struggle.
So you were in there, you heard the speech, you felt the vibe. What did you think?
They're crying. Yeah, it's heavy right now. You should feel that heaviness because this was not a natural disaster. And I would like actually samples taken from the soil. You guys put the screen up. You won't let anyone see what's going on inside. But we know very well that you guys, as the 3rd largest stakeholders, the state, do want that land and can take it when you deem it a natural disaster. And that is disgusting. And that is why I'm also here today, because someone needs to call that out. We wanted the samples right away. You guys stopped the people from going in.
There were some promises that were made, so I hope he keeps his word on how, when we begin to rebuild, that we're going to do it the way we want to do it. So I'm holding him to that.
All of us have made mistakes. All of us have certain talents. And all I ask is you look me over and check me out. If you like what you see, help out. If not, hopefully that we get some good candidates.
Thanks for taking the time.
Well, thank you.
Thanks.
And then, as far as building a better community or better homes than what we have, I unfortunately didn't like that. Because like for our Kupuna and the Lahaina family, and for a lot of people that had lost what they had lost, there's no replacing that. There's no better, there's no new, there's no better than that.
It's just awful.
Think of this as numbers for buildings, for money. What about the people? What about the families that have been destroyed by this fire. And for the record, I will say this. It was not a natural disaster. This emergency proclamation is a fall. And let me tell you why. Because all of the hearings you hear, all of the testimony you hear, all of the social media you hear, it connects the dots to what's happening in Lahaina. Lahaina was our first United Kingdom capital. Funny how all the common people were taken out in one fell swoop of a fire.
And your thoughts?
My thoughts is just that the word of everyone that came in and made promises, that they make good on their word. There are over 40,000 ancestors standing behind us. We are not alone. By no chance are we alone. Keep your word.
Your feelings about tonight, this afternoon?
Same as what she said, we are going to hold him to what he promised our people. This is Lahaina. We are a very, very loving place. You know, we may have lost our homes, but we fall under the same roof. So we are in this together, and we need our community leaders and we need the people of Lahaina to have a voice in regards to the rebuilding of our community and keeping our hometown Lahaina.
Drive us insane and make our hearts swell, Burst.
Well, we still have to restore the heart.
My hook is cracked. One more hit, and it's over.
Maui, you have to restore the heart.
Without my hook, I am nothing.
That's not true.
Without my hook, I am nothing.